73% of highly intelligent people think they're average or below average in intelligence. It's called the intelligence paradox. And if you've ever felt like you're not smart enough, there's a 9 out of 10 chance you're actually in the top 20% of thinkers. Let me prove it with 12 psychological signs you've been completely ignoring. Have you ever felt like you're not as smart as everyone around you? Like maybe you're just good at faking it, or that one day people will realize you don't actually know what you're doing. Here's something that might surprise you. That feeling, that nagging sense of doubt, might actually be a sign of high intelligence. I know, it sounds backwards, right? But stick with me for the next few minutes, because we're about to explore 12 psychological signs that you're far more intelligent than you give yourself credit for. And I'm willing to bet that at least half of these will hit home for you in ways you never expected. Before we dive in, quick question. Do you consider yourself intelligent? Drop a comment below with your honest answer. No judgment here. And if you're new to Mind Decode, welcome. We break down complex psychology into insights you can actually use in your daily life. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on understanding the fascinating science behind human behavior. Now, let me tell you about Sarah. She's a software engineer at a major tech company, respected by her colleagues, admired for her problem-solving skills. But here's the thing. Sarah constantly feels like she's not smart enough. She sees her co-workers confidently throwing around technical jargon, and she questions every decision she makes. What Sarah doesn't realize is that the very things that make her feel inadequate are actually signs of her exceptional intelligence. And you might be just like Sarah. Let's decode these 12 signs together.
Sign number 1. You question everything, including yourself. Remember Sarah? Her constant self-doubt isn't a weakness. It's actually a hallmark of intelligence. Psychologists call this metacognition, the ability to think about your own thinking. When you question your knowledge, your decisions, and your abilities, you're engaging in a sophisticated mental process that less intelligent people rarely experience. The Dunning-Kruger effect, a well-documented psychological phenomenon, explains this perfectly. It shows that people with lower cognitive ability tend to overestimate their competence, while highly intelligent individuals often underestimate theirs. Why? Because smart people are acutely aware of how much they don't know. They see the vastness of knowledge out there and feel small in comparison. Think about it. The more you learn, the more you realize how much more there is to learn. It's like standing at the base of a mountain. From the bottom, you can see the peak and understand the climb ahead. But someone who's never even approached the mountain, they think it's just a hill. So if you constantly question yourself, if you second-guess your decisions, if you feel like you're not as smart as others think you are, congratulations. Your brain is sophisticated enough to recognize its own limitations. That's not stupidity, that's wisdom. Sign number 2. You're highly adaptable to change. Intelligence isn't just about knowing facts or solving complex equations. True intelligence shows up in how you handle the unexpected curveballs life throws at you. And if you find yourself adapting relatively easily to new situations, that's a major sign of cognitive flexibility, a key component of high intelligence. Let me share a story. During the pandemic, millions of people had to suddenly shift to remote work. Some struggled immensely, unable to adjust their routines or workflows. But others, maybe you were one of them, quickly figured out new systems, learned new technologies, and even found ways to thrive in the chaos. Psychological research shows that intelligent people have stronger neural connections that allow them to shift between different mental tasks and perspectives more easily. It's like having a well-organized mental filing system where you can quickly pull out the right tool for any situation. This adaptability extends beyond just work. It's about emotional flexibility, too. Can you see multiple sides of an argument? Do you change your mind when presented with new evidence? Can you adjust your expectations when plans fall through? These aren't signs of being wishy-washy. They're signs of an intelligent mind that prioritizes truth and effectiveness over ego and rigidity. Sign number 3. You enjoy your own company.
Here's something that might surprise you. Intelligent people often prefer solitude, not because they're antisocial or awkward, but because they genuinely enjoy the richness of their own inner world. Carl Jung, the famous psychologist, once said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." Intelligent people often find that their thoughts, interests, and concerns operate on a different wavelength than casual conversation allows for. So they seek solitude not to escape others, but to engage with ideas deeply. Think about the times you've chosen to stay home with a good book instead of going to a party, or when you've taken a long walk alone just to think through a problem, or when you've spent hours on a personal project that no one else would understand or appreciate. These aren't red flags of social inadequacy. They're signs that your mind is rich enough, complex enough, to be its own best company. Research published in the British Journal of Psychology found that highly intelligent people report lower life satisfaction when they socialize more frequently. Why? Because their brains are wired to find fulfillment in deep thinking, problem solving, and pursuing long-term goals, activities that often require solitude. So if you're someone who genuinely enjoys being alone, who doesn't feel the constant need to fill silence with noise or solitude with company, your brain might be telling you something important. You're intelligent enough to be entertained by your own thoughts. Sign number 4. You're messy or disorganized. Wait, what? Being messy is a sign of intelligence? I know this one sounds counterintuitive, but hear me out, because the science backs this up in fascinating ways. A study conducted at the University of Minnesota found that people working in messy environments came up with more creative and interesting ideas than those in neat, organized spaces. The lead researcher, Kathleen Vose, suggested that a disorderly environment seems to inspire breaking free from tradition, which can produce fresh insights. Think about some of history's greatest minds. Albert Einstein famously had a cluttered desk and once said, "If a cluttered desk is a sign of a cluttered mind, of what, then, is an empty desk a sign?" Mark Twain, Steve Jobs, and Thomas Edison all worked in notoriously chaotic spaces. Here's why this happens. Intelligent minds are often juggling multiple complex ideas simultaneously. Your physical space becomes a reflection of your mental space. Papers and books spread across your desk represent different threads of thought you're pursuing. To an outside observer, it looks like chaos. But to you, there's a system. You know exactly where everything is because each item represents a specific thought or project. Now, I'm not saying that being organized means you're not intelligent. Plenty of smart people keep immaculate spaces. But if you've always felt bad about your messy desk or your tendency to leave projects scattered around, maybe it's time to stop seeing it as a character flaw and start recognizing it as a sign that your brain is simply too busy making connections to worry about conventional order. Sign number 5. You're highly self-critical. Let's go back to Sarah for a moment. After completing a major project that her boss praised highly, she spent the entire evening thinking about the 3 small mistakes she made and how she could have done better. Sound familiar? Highly intelligent people tend to have brutal internal critics. You hold yourself to impossibly high standards. You notice every flaw in your work, every misstep in your communication, every opportunity you missed. While everyone else is congratulating you on a job well done, you're mentally reviewing everything you could have improved. This self-criticism stems from 2 aspects of intelligence. First, your high standards. You have a clear vision of excellence, and you can see the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Second, your analytical ability. You can dissect your own performance with the same rigor you'd apply to solving a complex problem. The psychologist Daniel Kahneman, who won the Nobel Prize for his work on decision-making, noted that intelligent people are more prone to seeing patterns, including patterns in their own mistakes. This makes them more self-aware, but also more self-critical. The key is balance. Your self-criticism is valuable. It drives improvement and growth. But it shouldn't paralyze you or destroy your confidence. The fact that you notice your flaws and want to improve, that's your intelligence at work. Just remember, everyone makes mistakes. The difference is, you're smart enough to learn from yours. Sign number 6. You have a dark or sarcastic sense of humor. Do people sometimes tell you that your jokes are too dark? Do you appreciate sarcasm, irony, and wit that goes over other people's heads? Congratulations. Your sense of humor might be revealing your intelligence. A study published in the journal Cognitive Processing found that people who appreciate and produce dark humor score higher on tests of verbal and non-verbal intelligence. Why? Because understanding complex humor requires several cognitive skills working together. You need to recognize the setup, understand the social context, identify the unexpected twist, and appreciate the irony or absurdity, all in a split second. Sarcasm is particularly telling. To effectively use or understand sarcasm, your brain has to simultaneously process the literal meaning of words and the intended opposite meaning, while also reading social cues to understand the speaker's true intent. That's serious mental gymnastics. Think about shows like The Office or comedians like George Carlin. Their humor works on multiple levels, surface-level jokes for everyone, but deeper layers of social commentary and irony that only some people catch. If you're someone who appreciates that complexity, who laughs at jokes that make others uncomfortable, your brain is demonstrating its ability to handle nuance and ambiguity. Of course, there's a difference between intelligent dark humor and just being mean or insensitive. The former requires empathy and understanding of human nature. The latter is just cruelty. If your humor makes you think deeply about human behavior, society's absurdities, or life's contradictions, that's your intelligence shining through. Sign number 7. You're a night owl. Do you come alive after everyone else has gone to bed? Do your best ideas strike at midnight? Does your brain refuse to shut down when your head hits the pillow? Your sleep schedule might be revealing something important about your cognitive abilities. Multiple studies have found a correlation between high intelligence and a preference for late-night hours. Research published in the journal Personality and Individual Differences showed that people with higher IQs tend to go to bed later and wake up later than those with lower IQs. Evolutionary psychologists suggest this might be because staying up late was historically a novel behavior. Our ancestors generally followed the sun's cycle, and intelligent people tend to be more open to adopting novel behaviors and preferences. But there's more to it than evolution. The quiet of the night offers something precious: uninterrupted thinking time. During the day, your brain is bombarded with stimuli, emails, conversations, notifications, responsibilities. But at night, the world quiets down, and suddenly you have space to think deeply, to let ideas connect, to solve problems that have been nagging at you all day. Many of history's greatest thinkers were night owls. Marcel Proust wrote entirely at night. Winston Churchill rarely went to bed before 3 a.m. Barack Obama called himself a night owl who did his best thinking late. So if you've always felt guilty about your late-night habits, maybe it's time to reframe them. Your brain isn't being difficult. It's finding the optimal environment for its best work. Sign number 8. You worry and overthink constantly. Let's be honest, this one doesn't feel like a gift. Lying awake at 2 a.m., replaying that conversation from 3 days ago, analyzing what you said and how you could have said it better, running through every possible worst-case scenario before making a decision, worrying about things that haven't happened and probably never will. But here's what research tells us. There's a strong correlation between anxiety and intelligence. A study published in Frontiers in Evolutionary Neuroscience found that people with higher verbal intelligence scores showed more worry and rumination. Why does this happen? Your intelligent brain is essentially too good at its job. It excels at pattern recognition, at predicting outcomes, and at analyzing situations from every angle. These are valuable skills, until they turn inward and start manufacturing threats and problems that may not even exist. Think of it this way. A less intelligent brain looks at a situation and sees 1 or 2 possible outcomes. Your brain sees 15. It runs complex simulations of everything that could go wrong. It's like having a supercomputer that never shuts off, constantly processing data and identifying potential threats. The psychologist Adam Perkins suggests that worry might have evolutionary benefits. Our anxious, overthinking ancestors were the ones who anticipated danger, prepared for disasters, and ultimately survived. In modern times, we don't face the same physical threats, but our brains still operate with that same threat detection sensitivity. The key is learning to manage this tendency without suppressing your intelligence. Your ability to anticipate problems is valuable. It makes you prepared, cautious, and thorough. You just need to recognize when your brain is in overdrive and gently redirect it. Sign number 9. You ask stupid questions. Here's a scene that might be familiar. You're in a meeting or a classroom, and someone presents information that everyone seems to understand and accept. But something bothers you. You raise your hand and ask a question, something that seems obvious or basic to you. And suddenly, you see it on people's faces. Confusion about why you're asking something so simple. But here's the truth. The questions that seem stupid are often the most intelligent ones. Children ask stupid questions all the time. Why is the sky blue? Why do I have to go to school? Where does money come from? These questions are only stupid because they target assumptions that adults have stopped questioning. But they're actually profound inquiries into the nature of reality, society, and systems we've learned to take for granted. Intelligent people maintain that childlike curiosity. They question assumptions that everyone else accepts. They poke at logical inconsistencies that others overlook. They ask why when everyone else asks how. Richard Feynman, the Nobel Prize-winning physicist, was famous for asking questions that seemed absurdly simple. But his questioning led to breakthrough insights because he refused to accept conventional wisdom without understanding the fundamental principles underneath. When you ask a stupid question, you're actually doing something sophisticated. You're examining the foundation of an idea rather than accepting the superstructure others have built on top of it. You're thinking from first principles. That's not stupidity. That's intellectual courage. So the next time you feel embarrassed about asking a basic question, remember, only intelligent people are secure enough to risk looking foolish in pursuit of genuine understanding. Sign number 10. You're forgetful about small things. You walk into a room and forget why you went there. You can't remember where you put your keys again. You miss appointments or forget to respond to messages. And you feel frustrated with yourself because you can't remember these simple things? Here's the surprising truth. This absent-mindedness might indicate that your brain is focused on more complex, abstract thinking. A study from the University of Toronto found that forgetfulness can be a sign of a highly intelligent, healthy brain that's busy focusing on what really matters. Your brain has limited bandwidth. It's constantly deciding what information to keep and what to discard. When you forget where you parked your car, it might be because your brain was working through a complex problem and decided that the parking spot was trivial information not worth storing. Sherlock Holmes famously said he didn't know that the Earth revolves around the sun because that information wasn't useful for solving crimes. He deliberately filled his brain attic only with information relevant to his work. Your forgetfulness might operate on a similar principle. Your brain is too busy processing important ideas to worry about mundane details. This is especially true if you remember complex, abstract information easily, but struggle with daily tasks. That selective memory is your brain revealing its priorities. Sign number 11. You feel different from most people. Have you always felt slightly out of step with everyone around you? Like you're observing life from a slightly different angle? Like your thoughts and interests don't quite match the people in your life? This feeling of being different is incredibly common among highly intelligent people. You process information differently, you make connections others don't see, you're interested in things others find boring, and you find meaning in places others overlook. As a child, you might have been called old soul or mature for your age. As an adult, you might struggle to find people who truly understand you. Small talk feels painful. Surface-level friendships feel hollow. You crave depth in a world that often seems content with shallow. The psychologist Kazimierz Dabrowski developed a theory called positive disintegration, which suggests that highly intelligent and creative people often experience more internal conflict and a sense of not fitting in.
This discomfort, while painful, drives personal growth and the development of a more sophisticated individual value system. Your sense of being different isn't a flaw, it's a feature. It means you're thinking independently, questioning norms, and forging your own path. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe." Your feeling of being different might be evidence that you're maintaining your individuality in a world that pressures conformity. Sign number 12. You're constantly learning. Here's the final sign, and it might be the most important one. You have an insatiable curiosity. You're always reading, watching documentaries, taking courses, and exploring new ideas. You can't help yourself. Learning isn't a chore for you. It's a genuine pleasure. While some people stopped learning the moment they left school, you've continued expanding your knowledge throughout your life. You fall down rabbit holes researching random topics. You stay up late reading about subjects that have nothing to do with your job. You genuinely enjoy the process of not knowing something and then figuring it out. This love of learning is strongly correlated with intelligence. Research shows that people with higher cognitive abilities experience more pleasure from intellectual activities. Your brain literally rewards you with dopamine when you learn something new and make novel connections. Moreover, intelligent people understand that knowledge isn't fixed. It's constantly evolving. You're willing to update your beliefs when you encounter new information. You don't see changing your mind as weakness, you see it as growth. If you're watching this video right now, that alone might be a sign of your intelligence. You're spending your time trying to understand yourself better, to gain psychological insights, to grow as a person. That's not what everyone does with their free time. That's what intelligent, curious, growth-oriented people do. Conclusion. So there you have it, 12 signs that you're more intelligent than you think. Let's recap quickly. Questioning everything, including yourself, adapting easily to change, enjoying solitude, being messy or disorganized, being highly self-critical, having dark or sarcastic humor, being a night owl, worrying and overthinking, asking stupid questions, being forgetful about small things, feeling different from others, and constantly learning. Now here's what I want you to understand. Intelligence isn't about being better than others. It's not about comparing yourself to anyone else. Your intelligence is simply your unique way of processing, understanding, and engaging with the world. If you recognized yourself in even half of these signs, I want you to permit yourself to acknowledge your intelligence. Not in an arrogant way, but in a self-accepting way. Stop downplaying your abilities. Stop assuming everyone else is smarter. Your brain works the way it does for good reasons. Remember Sarah from the beginning? She eventually learned to recognize that her self-doubt was actually evidence of her sophisticated thinking. She started seeing her questioning nature not as a weakness, but as her greatest analytical tool. She's still the same person, but now she understands herself better. And that understanding changed everything. If this video resonated with you, do me a favor. Hit that like button. It helps more people who need to hear this message find this content. And if you haven't already, subscribe to mine Decode and turn on notifications. Until next time, keep decoding your mind. You're more intelligent than you think, and now you have the psychological evidence to prove it.